Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's June the 24th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And what looked like early was going to be a 5 or 4 to 6 point trading range turned into a nice uptrend, which in the end just turned out to be about a um, 11 point trading range. It appears, unless we may continue lower here because this thing just got as bullish as it was looking right up through here. It looks even worse to the downside now. So um, I don't know what happened. Um, I was done trading by this time and actually had left the office for a little bit to run some errands. And when I came back, I was shocked to see this. It didn't necessarily shock me to see it, sell off, but it shocked me to see it sell off like this without some kind of retest or whatever. But we did really overshoot the channel here, and we did reverse right at a measure. If you measure this first part of the range and you drag it up, well, we just barely overshot that, and for the most part, we had a perfect measured move there with a little bit of an overshoot. And now we've even gone lower. So I don't know if some news came out around here, if there's something, I hadn't had a chance to even investigate it, but maybe something came out in the news that spooked people that caused this sell off. Um, I don't know. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that prices are going lower, and now you got to switch gears. And I really don't see any way to get in this trade here. Um, we're working down, and you got this tight channel, and what happened here? Like I said, it really doesn't matter. But I don't see this. There's no way to really get short here that I see. You might have looked at this like a failed second entry long and thought about going short there, but I just don't think you can do it because you've had no break of this channel yet. Now, sometimes an overshoot like this will cause a reversal without a retest, and other times when the resistance is really strong, like here, you tried to come back and you can't get through it, and it's like suddenly all the longs figured out, hey, we're not going higher anymore, and all these people that got long here had to sell right here, and that's my best explanation of what happened there. Otherwise, maybe some news event or something, or it might have been a combination of both. But once it started going lower here, your longer term traders that don't scalp out, the ones that are getting long over here and trying to, get a big trend day, they got off to exit and they start throwing in the towel, and that's what's happened all the way down here. And now we've got a new low for the day. So we could go lower yet. And this may be a spike in channel right here. Um, I haven't spent a lot of time with this, but just start right here and see what we come up with. But this could be a spike in channel. It's after 2, so it's getting really late in the day. So you got to be careful trading this late. But if that's the case, we've overshot the channel to the downside now, but it wouldn't surprise me if we weren't overdone now and we don't come back, reverse back out of here. But that's kind of what it's looking like there, is maybe this is a spike in channel down and maybe even a midline in there, like so. So it looks, that we really need a little more price action to confirm that. But that's what it's kind of looking like to me, as a little spike in channel, and we've overdone the low side of the channel. But the way this thing is selling off, who knows? But let's talk about the trades that I did see. I was done fairly quickly this morning because of a couple of trades here, and I was done before we got into any of this. So this really, like I said, when I came back, I left, prices were working back towards this trend line, which is what I was looking to happen. But I really thought we'd either get a bounce or we'd get a small break and a retest and then a sell off. Um, but it just looks like it was a bigger trading range at this point. And even though we are going lower here, I would expect that we're probably going to reverse and come back at least and test the lows here before we go lower. But it wouldn't surprise me to see us get back up inside the channel before the day's over. So, but let's talk about the trades that I did see. First trade that I really saw, there wasn't anything going on really early here. It was kind of slow. But you got 2 legs up. You really didn't. There is a failed second entry short here. I was actually prepared to go short if prices would have broke below there. But notice how all those matching lows that prices never make it a little bigger could get below there. You can't go short right there. I mean, look, we're all still inside the channel. Um, and then I really thought we'd pull back up and maybe make a new high and then try to get a setup, but it just kept going higher. But when this second entry short failed right here, especially with that bearish bar, and it couldn't go lower than that, that's telling you something. For whatever reason, they're protecting those prices right there. They perceive that as a good buy price. And so going long right there, when prices broke higher there, that's a failed second entry short. And, what was kind of looking like, and really what it was this is where I originally had my range line here early on and until it broke lower, and then I moved it down here like so. But it got back inside those lows right there, tested it again, and then went higher. And it's a failed second entry short. This probably trapped some traders to the short side here, and I know when it broke lower and turned back up, it did. It didn't explode out of there, but you're looking for a retest of the high, and I really thought we'd probably even come up as high as this and test it and then sell off. And I was looking at this channel here, if you get the midday charts, but I didn't really have enough price action to be sure what was going on until we bounced off the high again and then bounced off the median line again. Then I felt pretty confident that this channel was right here. So I think I had it right or correct. But you can't go long here, and you don't want to go short right here either. You might have thought about going short right here if you didn't see this bigger channel. So I will go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and make that one green. I was not in any position where I thought that was a good trade to go short. But we do have a break of the short-term little trend channel here and 2 legs up to a new high. And that's generally going to be good for, at least a scalp. And you can see it was good for a little more than that. But then we tried to go higher. You can't go long right there above that. I guess you could, but by this time, this is really looking like a trading range. But when it turned down and turned back up, and I went back and forth of whether or not to make this one green or blue. I'll tell you, I took this without hesitation, because it's a trap. And it's not, I would have loved to see them try to take it lower one more time and then go up off this trend line would have been the ideal way. But I liked this trade, but because it's only and it is a second entry long, but you're going long right at the highs of this resistance. So it's a little bit, there's some reasons to call that aggressive. But if you understand price action, I mean, that one's borderline of just making it blue. And I really had it as blue, and I took it like it was a blue trade. But, you got to be careful whenever you go long in this resistance like that. So, okay, sorry, I had a little interruption. But you got to be careful where going long at those highs like that. But I think it was a good trade. I liked it, and it was one of the better trades of the day. And then, of course, you get this, notice how you go up to the upside and you get a 2-legged pull back to the midline. And even though that's kind of stacked up there, notice how you get a failed, it's the same thing. You get a failed second entry short, and those, the shorts are jumping on here, trying to catch a top. And so the buy stops are piling up here. And when it breaks higher, it just rockets up. And then you get that little trap. So now this is like a new low. It's not really a new low, but it's a first correction. You get a first entry short and then a second entry short, and it's a breakout pullback long here too. And so I really liked adding on right there, even though it's right there at that thing. By this time, it's obvious that this thing is moving. And so I was looking for 2 possibilities: either the measured move from here, which you can see we got, or a measured move from the first, from here to here. And you can see we got a little further than that. So that was what I was looking for. Either way, one of the two, or just prices to, and I really at that point when we got above here, I was considering even the possibility that we might have had another line that was a measured distance right there, right in there somewhere. But that didn't happen. So, but you got to be prepared for that just in case. Because if this thing would have kept going higher from here, that would have been my next target was a measured move, and this being a midline on a bigger pattern. And so always consider that. But two nice trades in a row there, and then it really just got quiet. I just don't see. There's no reason to go short in here. Um, you might have considered going short simply to ride it to the other side, but I just think that's too aggressive. I don't see a good short setup here anywhere until I just there's no way. A couple people wrote to me about going short here, and you just can't go short there because what happens is you'll get trapped like you did here and watch it go higher. And so I just don't see any reason to get short, and I don't see any way to get short right here. Unless you treated this as a break, there's a possibility. The only other thing I see is notice those matching lows across there, and it's like a breakout pullback short. So maybe there, but even then, there's no break of this little channel. There's nothing to make you think that prices are going lower here. And yes, it works out. And when you see this happen, it's frustrating, and you feel like, heck, how do you catch that? I missed this trade, and the next thing you know, you're chasing it, and then it bounces like this. So you got to be real careful. Even though there's no way to get in there, and you had to watch that go without you, that's the right thing to do. Because most times, if you try to get long or short in here, it's going to bounce, and you're going to get burned. So this is just one of those rare times where it went lower. But most of the time, that's not what's going to happen. So um, don't let that kind of stuff frustrate you because the market, that's what they love to do, get you flustered. What they love to do is watch you sit here and you miss all these longs, and then right here you finally decide to get long, or right here, and then it's over. And so you sit there and you watch these and you go, dang, the next time it gives any pullback, I'm getting long, and then it pulls back, you get long, and then this happens to you. So that's what the market does to you. So understand that it's a psychological battle, and you're fighting that yourself, and you have to be able to overlook that. So sometimes the market's going to go without you, and there's going to be nothing you can do about it. But if you let it fluster you and you start chasing it, then you're probably going to get yourself burned. And then then you see it doing this to the downside a couple of times, and you say, okay, next time it comes up here, I'm getting short, and you get short right there, and only to watch it go higher, or you get short right here, only to watch it go, several points higher. And so don't chase the market. Don't let it fluster you. And you say we're still going lower over here. There's probably a bigger pattern here that I'm missing somehow, somewhere. Maybe this is a two-tiered. Maybe it's bigger like so, but even that doesn't really look well. So there's something else here. Just need to spend some time with it and figure it out. But and it could just be the market's overdone. Just like it got maybe overdone to the upside, now it's getting overdone to the downside, and it'll reverse here in a little bit. But don't let moves that you miss fluster you, is what I'm trying to tell you, for important reasons. Because this thing is so much of trading is a mental game, and you have to be mentally sharp, and you can't get emotional about it. If you have a losing trade, no big deal. That's part of it. If you have a winning trade, you can't get excited. Hey, had a winning trade, no big deal, because that's part of the game. It's just a job, and when you have to come in here and you look at it like that, every trade is just a trade. And you hope you're right, and if you're not, you'll get the next one right. And if you're wrong, then hey, you got to brush it off like it never happened and just keep going. But what happens is people have a loser, and then they're nervous, and then they are scared to take the next good setup, and they watch a couple of them go, and then you say, oh, well, if it give me another setup, I'm getting in, and then you jump in, and you're too late now. You missed all the good moves. So, but anyway, we got through here. There's no way really without just getting lucky, there's no way to catch that right there. There's just no way. Um, Not to do it smartly where you're going to be right most of the times, in other words. Um, Really, unless you treated that like the breakout pullback short that we talked about, I don't see any way to take that trade. Um, and that's just part of the game. But notice here, if you're really paying attention, you got a first entry long, and then it goes this much lower, and then this is like it never really broke higher, but this is the first correction down here, and those are, you know, pretty much almost like measured moves, so it's like two big legs down, and so you might have treated that as a chance to go short, with bounce off that trend line with enough room to get out before you get down to the low side. You see, even if that comes straight down, you can almost get 4 ticks. But that's aggressive because it's right at the previous resistance. So, and if it holds as support, you'd be looking to go long there. So I just think that one's aggressive too. But it is bouncing right off the trend line. And it's the first pull back to that trend line since way up here. Um, and that's a really bearish sell-off. So there's a good chance it could go on lower. And I really thought it might go all the way down right there, but then you get the break of the trend line, and then you had a couple of moves down, and I probably would have bought this right here because you had a break of this trend and a couple of legs down, and that's definitely rejection. Oops, off these previous lows. So if I'd have still been trading, I probably would have bought that right there. And if you waited on the second entry, that might have even been tempting right there. So I'm going to make that one green, but that's tempting to take right there. Um, so if you got trapped right there, when it turned down right there, you had to exit. Definitely if it got below this low right here, you had to exit. So not much else you can do about that. And that was, but anyway, I don't think we talked about these two trades. But anyway, you get a bounce here. You get a first entry, pull back second entry, and you can't go short below this bar because that's really your signal bar, but it's not very good. But when you get this real bearish one, you're going to test this low on a move after a move like that most likely. So I like going short right there. Easy scalp. And then guess what? You get two legs back up to the EMA and another bearish bar on a second entry. Look at that. And you probably figured you're going to get a measured move down like that, but look, it just takes off. And then, like I said, I would have probably bought that bounce right there. And even right here, notice that high first entry, pull back second entry, bouncing off that lower side of that trend line. So, it's not quite 230. So there's another trap right there that if you saw it and took it, probably not a bad trade. So, but that was really it for today. And actually, you could have gone short here when you got that trap right there. But with it being so close to that support, I just don't think that I'm not going to mark that one because I don't believe I would take that. And again, it's just one of those that, it's not a good setup. It works out really great in the end, and you wish you'd have been there. But, most of the times that's going to turn down and trap you and go the other way. So you probably don't want to do that. But that's what I saw today. Good trading day. Really, I was done by 10 o'clock today. I was able to catch a couple of these and get some runners off of them and kind of added on to one here and got some multiple runners on it. And when they have a day like that, it doesn't take long to be done. And so good trading day. Hope you had a good trading day. I hope you didn't get caught on the wrong side of this. And once you realize it's going lower, I hope you were going lower with it as well. So, but this is a little tricky. This really was a little tricky. But now it's obvious it's a really strong downtrend, and I need to play with it some and just try to figure it out. Maybe it's more like this. Let's see if we can make this. And yeah, that kind of fits a little better on the other side. So maybe it's more like that. Let's see if we can get a midline here. Yeah, I'm believing that's probably it right there. So, and this is really where the downtrend started. I would say we were still in an uptrend until it turned lower right there. And that's where pretty much the downtrend started. And we did overshoot this down here, if that's right. And it looks pretty good. I mean, we got multiple touches on this high side. and it is bouncing there on the low side. So it looks pretty good. That may be it right there. And sometimes you just have to. Sometimes there's not enough price action to figure it out. You got to wait till you get a little more price action. Um, and sometimes you think you got it figured out, and as you get more price action, you really don't. So, but that's part of it. So. But I'm going to wrap it up for today. Good trading day. Hopefully it was a good trading day and that you didn't give it all back here. And that's why, once it turns and goes against you, just take your stop and get out. And well, you don't. If you had a good day up till here and you had one loser here, then it didn't kill you, and you had plenty of chance to get it back, even even later on in the day if you were wrong. So just don't let a loser shake you up, and don't let a winner get you so excited that you have the same problem in reverse, because it is a lot of this is mental, and you got to understand that. So, but I'm going to wrap it up for the day. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.